I'm Kelly.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Coupled with Chaos.
Accused, Guilty, or Innocent, Season 8, Episode 3, Negligent Father, or Tragic Accident. This is I wouldn't call you an expert in this, but ultimately you're pretty good in this community, aren't you? As far as...
Yeah. I'm very familiar with Amish culture. Done tons of reading on the topic and, have studied about it just out of a matter of interest.
Yes.
And Mennonite is similar, but not quite as restrictive in terms of dress.
Yeah. I'll go through the incident that happened. And so this would have been August 26th of 22. This in Clay Township, Pennsylvania. Christopher Martin is with his two brothers. They're doing a tobacco harvest on their farm. And on I guess really, I wouldn't call it a tractor. It's more like a cart, right? I mean, it's a tractor towing this big thing that they hang the tobacco off of.
Yeah, it's a manual cart being pulled by horses that they are harvesting tobacco with an outlying rotating blade and then picking it up and manually throwing it over the side of the cart to dry.
On this cart, not on the cart, but on the tractor portion, this Christopher Martin has his 3-year-old daughter, Lucille, and his 4-year-old son, and they are riding on this cart, pulling that tobacco wagon. Lucille, the 3-year-old, falls from the cart, and she is crushed by the wagon wheel.
Yeah, she was riding on the front with her brother.
Yeah, and following an investigation this is Lancaster County, and so if you have any idea of just have seen any shows or documentaries or anything about Lancaster County, you could understand that it's a very popular Mennonite community. A lot of Amish Mennonites all there. It's a pretty heavily populated area.
One of the main Amish groups is the Lancaster Amish.
Mm-hmm. And so here, and I think even if you're not full Amish, I mean, this is still a part of the culture in that area.
Right.
So after an investigation by the Lancaster County Police, they file a felony charge of endangering the welfare of children against Christopher Martin. And I think bigger picture, broader context here, and they get into it in a little bit of the show, is that a year earlier, a 6-year-old boy in a nearby township was killed after being struck by the arm of like a forklift operated by a 14-year-old sibling. So, and I think there's just been a lot of accidents in this area.
Yeah, they said there's a higher rate of farm accidents among this type of community because they don't have the same safety protocols in place because they don't have modern equipment. And you have children working on farms, which wouldn't be allowed in modern farming.
I did a little research, and in between 2000 and 2019, 25 children aged 9 and under died in farm accidents in the county, accounting for over 1/3 of all local farm fatalities. Heavy machinery, farm vehicles, and were responsible for about 60% of these deaths. So here, if you're, I guess, a prosecutor, right, an attorney general, you're looking at this and going, there are children dying.
Right, but you're looking at a culture.
I get it.
That is like America, 100 years ago.
But how many people big picture, I think you're looking at how many people really understand that. And I think you can look at Facebook and Instagram and you see these news stories, and it just seems difficult to sit and watch this happen.
Sure, sure. And if you're not familiar with the religious aspects of the community and the reasons behind why they live this way, then on face value, you'd go, well, this is unnecessary risk to children.
Well, isn't society looking at it that way? I mean, in general, isn't that
Yeah.
really it?
Sure.
How can you let this go?
But honestly, you could say that about a lot of things in modern culture as well.
Well, and they do too. I think there was a neat scene in this where they'd pulled together members of the community. I wouldn't call it like a town hall, but kind of a town hall type of thing.
Kind of like a town hall with the attorney. And they asked, what their perspective was. And somebody stood up and said that while modern people think that this way of life puts children at risk, they would say that they feel like modern society puts children at risk in cars speeding down the highway at 80 miles per hour.
Mm-hmm. I think
and that's not a risk that they would put children at.
They would see that as a risk.
Right.
And
that they were not willing to take.
And to be honest, it's not. I think unless you're going 100 miles an hour, I think most communities don't prosecute that. If you're speeding and an accident happens, I don't think they're going after parents, right, for endangerment. Mm-hmm. It's just not something that happens.
Right.
And I think you can see a little bit about the risk that I think people just don't see. And maybe it's just kind of low-hanging fruit. But they don't consider it criminal child endangerment because it's a standard societal thing.
Right. And for them, this is as well.
And to be honest, safety restraints are used, but I don't know how good safety restraints are at 90 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour.
And what they had for safety on this piece of farm equipment was this front section of this, I guess you say cart. It had a seat for the driver of the cart. And then it had like a standing area around it with like a single metal rail that went around. And so obviously a small child, if they, were caught off balance when the cart started, could tumble right through the railing because it wasn't a solid railing. It was just like a single rail. Yeah.
Do you kind of, I guess what we hadn't talked about is really the details of what happened. And they did a reenactment with the two brothers and the father here that was charged. And they had the three of them there and where they were standing and what had happened and who was where. And the boy was in the seat and the girl was standing.
As far as the setup goes, this cart is being led by horses. Then the two children, the boy in the seat and the girl standing in front of him, were in the front of the cart, and then the wagon part behind it, and the equipment part that harvested out to the sides at the rear. And the vehicle was flanked by adult family members on both sides.
Well, weren't they on one side, kind of one behind, and all of them were on?
I think there were three on one side and three on the other, and they were each picking up the tobacco and putting it over the side of the cart.
I probably missed that there were 6 total. I thought there were just 3.
I think there were 6.
All right.
But on his side, there were 3, where the father was. Mm-hmm. The father, his brother, and someone else in the family was on one side. And they asked, the prosecutors and defense attorneys asked the father, how do you go about getting the cart to move forward, and how do you go about getting it to stop? And so they demonstrated, and it was just a command, basically, or a whistle that would make the horses go. It was like a ho to get them to go, and then another command to get them to stop. And so they're like, oh, well, that's, quick then. You say it and they go, and they demonstrated it. on the farm, and you see how quickly the horses respond to both going and stopping. Stopping takes a minute because of the weight of the cart for them to come to a full stop. And so basically the dad said on that morning, normally one of them would eye the children to see their position and then tell the horses to go. But on this occasion, they failed to check the child's position before they told the cart to go. And it was actually his brother who was one position ahead of him on the side.
Thank you for listening.
You can listen to the rest of this episode
By subscribing to our Coupled with Chaos channel on Apple,
by subscribing to our Patreon
or by subscribing to our Supercast,
for $3.99 a month.
where you can hear us talk about reality shows,
Real life and more on our podcast.
covering shows airing on TLC, A&E, Bravo, and the WE network.
Just follow the instructions in the show notes.
Tell your friends about this podcast.
And rate and review us on your favorite podcast player.
Follow us at Coupled with Chaos and all the socials.
Or contact us directly by email at coupledwithchaos@gmail.com.